Cleopatra VII, Queen of Ancient Egypt, is one of the most famous female rulers in history.
The Romans were afraid of her, and that's why she came down to us in history.
Descended from a long line of Egyptian rulers, Cleopatra was born around 69 BC.
Perhaps she wasn't a beautiful woman, but she certainly must have been a very charming one. I think she must have been extremely intelligent, and people responded to her intelligence.
In 51 BC, her father died, leaving his throne to 18-year-old Cleopatra and her younger brother Ptolemy XIII. The first 3 years of their rule were disastrous, and eventually her brother forced Cleopatra to flee from Egypt. She raised an army to retaliate.
When Cleopatra manages to get an army together, I think that she's out there to get power. She was groomed to be the pharaoh.
Julius Caesar's arrival in Egypt in 48 BC brought temporary peace, and then Caesar and Cleopatra became lovers.
She perceived through her connection with Caesar that Rome paid particular attention to Egypt, and she wanted them to play this card as much in Egypt's interest as possible.
Caesar and his legionnaires reinstated Cleopatra to her throne. In 47 BC, Cleopatra gave birth to his son, Caesarion. After Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC, Cleopatra sided with Mark Antony over Caesar's legal heir, Octavian. Antony and Cleopatra soon plunged into a legendary love affair.
She had to try to find a place for her own empire in a world in which the Romans were trying to encroach upon every important piece of prime real estate, so to speak, in the world. Egyptian was certainly a prime morsel.
In 40 BC, Cleopatra gave birth to twins by Antony. She later provided Antony with financial support. In return, Antony named Cleopatra and her son Caesarion rulers of Egypt.
What we call the donations of Alexandria reflects the Roman tradition of administration in the East. Antony distributed territories to Cleopatra and her children. In the following year, when the propaganda war between Octavian and Antony had begun, Octavian used the donations to attack Antony as a traitor to his country.
The Roman Senate declared war on Cleopatra, and the Egyptian fleets fled in disarray. Cleopatra retreated to her mausoleum. After receiving false news of Cleopatra's death, Antony fell on his sword. He was carried to the queen's retreat and died in Cleopatra's arms. Tormented by Antony's death and Egypt's defeat, Cleopatra committed suicide.
I think she was a great heroine of her times. Certainly she came to a tragic end, but she played the hand of cards that she had to her utmost, and I think that makes us respect her.
Through her talents, Cleopatra became one of the most feared and respected rulers in an age when power was held almost exclusively by men. Her legend still captivates today.